Good, so this session is a session we do with the students. Usually when we go canyoning, and it's about learning how to use sports as a way for social transformation. And in this case it's about social transformation or social change at the base. And if you look at society, you can see that society is made up of many people, many beings. And one way to really change society is to change on the individual level. And this is a model that Thich Nhat Hanh introduced, and he took it from an ancient text, Buddhist psychological text, Chinese text, I don't know exactly, I can't remember exactly from which century, but it's maybe 600 years old, and it looks as a human being on the level of consciousness and describes it on the level of consciousness, and I found it to be really very kind of graphic and effective. And the model really works with this element that Thich Nhat Hanh calls mindfulness, but we can also call it awareness or conscious presence. And yeah, we'll get to that. So maybe important to point out that this is just a model, no? So it's just a description of what is there naturally. And a model or theory, I think, has a place if it can really help us in our practice. So for example, if this model can help us in the way that we create the classes and sessions, or that it can help us to apply our own ability of discernment and understanding and awareness in order to be well, or in order to bring more harmony, more peace, more joy, more understanding, more kindness into the world. And and this is maybe a general question is, what's the role and the purpose of education? And we are here talking about essential education, so it's really talking about the very basic, simple things that really help us live a happy and fulfilled life, So yeah, we will start with the bell of mindfulness. And when we play the bell, you just kind of rest your attention again on your breathing, your in-breath and out-breath, and like that bring the mind back to the body and to the here and now. Good, so you can call it like Thich Nhat Hanh called this model transformation at the base, or social change at the base. And then there's a really good book that I recommend as well, which is called, later on they called Understanding Our Mind. I'll show that later. So this model says that we are consciousness, and it divides consciousness into store consciousness and mind consciousness. Okay, this is like a simplified version, and it says that we have in store consciousness, it's kind of the storehouse of all kinds of seeds that can manifest in consciousness. Okay, so for example, there are the seeds of anger, seeds of jealousy, restlessness, I don't know, another kind of unwholesome seed would be the seed of fear, anxiety, all these kinds of things, feelings, emotions that exist in our consciousness as a potential. Down here, they're just a potential, okay? They're already there, present. For example, right now we are maybe feeling very relaxed and peaceful, and there's no fear here, right now, present on our level of perception. But it's not to say that it doesn't exist right now, but it's just there in the store at the moment. And then, if, for example, now speaking, for example, relating to the canyoning experience, perhaps somebody stands on top of a jump and certain thoughts come up, and it looks like, oh, this, maybe I'm gonna hurt myself, can I do it? Maybe there's some fear of height or something, and suddenly the seed of fear is watered and it grows up, boom, and expresses now in mind consciousness. Okay, so in mind consciousness, now this potential is activated and we can perceive it, we can experience it there. No? So then there are also wholesome seeds in our consciousness. For example, the seed of joy, the seed of love, peace, kindness, they're called wholesome seeds. The wholesome seeds, when they are activated, when they're watered, then they are kind of they create a positive vibration in our body, and they make us feel well. And the unwholesome seeds, they have the power to make kind of create disharmony, vibrations, feelings in our bodies that don't feel so well. And in terms of modern science, neuroscience, I also read that they're kind of through certain perceptions and interpretations and beliefs and so on, certain molecules are released into our system, and they're like little keys. And for example, if fear is released, then molecules somehow that carry that information are released in our brain, in our body, into our body, and they travel around till they find a keyhole that fits to it, which is on the receptor cells, and then every kind of feeling or emotion, every key has its exact receptor where it fits, and then it links to it, and zzz, it creates like a little vibration there, and that's what we then feel. No, I'm sure that's a very simplified version, but so modern science is also looking into that and is trying to understand how do feelings work and so on. We can look at this at store consciousness also like the soil in a garden. Yeah, in the soil are all kinds of seeds. And depending on which one is watered, they can grow up. And now the nature of all of these manifestations, all of these seeds, all of these emotions and feelings are that they, when they are watered, they can manifest, express themselves, and after a while they subside again. So they're impermanent, they come and go. Okay? So that's when you observe that, for example, in your everyday life, consciously, you or going canyoning, you can see, okay, now this is coming. No, this fear is coming. I'm here before the fear comes. I'm here while the fear is there, and I'm here when it's gone. So I cannot be that fear. Okay, essentially. These are kind of visitors. Also the same with joy. Joy is watered, expresses, it's also impermanent, and it subsides again in its intensity and goes back into store consciousness. And so when I see that, I can see, okay, I'm not essentially joy either, because that's also a visitor. And so the question is, what do we do when, for example, anger manifests? No, how do I, or fear manifests? How do I work with that? What can we do, and how can we teach people to work with that? I'm an educator and I teach physical education. I feel that I have a great tool in order to teach more than just how to play good football or how to play well basketball, but we can use the sports in that way as a tool to understand our mind, our body much better. So, for example, if fear comes, then Thich Nhat Hanh says what we should avoid is to try to suppress it, okay? And not wanting to experience it or to get rid of it as quickly as possible. He says it's important that all of these seeds can express freely. So he compares that with like the blood stream, the blood circulation. If there's a block in the blood circulation, you become ill. And modern society very often has done everything to suppress certain things because we don't like that. So we try to fill our life, our store consciousness, constantly with some sort of consumption, with like watching Netflix, calling a friend, reading a book, working, always seeking social contact or whatever strategy we feel comfortable with and employ, no? So it's not very often encouraged to just kind of be still and empty and do nothing, because perhaps these things can manifest. So Thich Nhat Hanh says, create space for these to manifest and don't create these blocks. Okay? So a mature practitioner or a mature being would even seek out times in life, like go on a retreat or spend some time in nature, or just have an hour a day where you don't fill your schedule with something, and you are consciously doing that, so that you can pay attention to what wants to manifest, and then to be with that. So first you allow it to be, and you accept it as kind of, you sort of own it rather than reject it or project it, because very often, for example, if somebody like your girlfriend or boyfriend says something harsh and accuses you of something, you always do this and that, or you never listen to me, or blah blah blah, and maybe the seed of anger or something is watered and grows up. And it's now very easy to say, well, you are the cause for me feeling that way, no? But if we project our thoughts and feelings, the responsibility for them onto someone else, onto our parents or things we experienced or other people that mistreat us, it's not to say that we can't do something about being treated well and right, but we need to kind of take ownership of these expressions of consciousness up to a point that we can feel empowered and not disempowered. Because if you feel, well, poor me, I'm a victim of my life or my life situations, then I give away my power. But I have so much power in order to transform these different things, no? So when a child, for example, grows up and it has not so much luck with the parents and the life conditions, which many beings and people experience, then maybe a lot of these unwholesome seeds are watered. Perhaps these seeds in consciousness, they're also passed and handed down from our ancestors. And so you don't start like a completely blank sheet. Just like as the shape of the body is passed down, the way it functions also is passed down. And perhaps you are coming from a line of people who've spent a lot of time already transforming consciously their set of seeds, no? So they might have passed on very healthy and wholesome seeds, or not, and then in this life you have the chance to transform and work with them. And Thich Nhat Hanh says that the best way to be with the unwholesome seeds is when, for example, to go back to fear grows up, you also invite this seed to come up with the fear. And this one he calls mindfulness, no? Or conscious presence or awareness. And you invite it, and then you already see, no? Like the fear coming. And then the reactions maybe that want to keep feeding the fear, like the story that's going on in your mind. Feelings, emotions are in Buddhist terms often called mental formations. So it kind of gives a clue that it's not very often only a physical manifestation, but it's connected to the mind and the perception and the stories and the beliefs that go with these perceptions. And he says, if you can at the same time be simply aware that, okay, now fear is here, or now anger is here, or now jealousy is here, to simply allow it to be and to hold it with your awareness, like a mother holding a crying baby, and just holding it, soothing it. And then after a while, especially if you invite mindfulness, because if you're really consciously very present with whatever is here, you naturally stop the story. And even if you see there's judgment and thoughts going on, you can also kind of see and notice that you see that, you perceive that, so you can't be these thoughts essentially, and you're just with that. And as you stop feeding the story that often comes with these thoughts and feelings, you stop feeding kind of when you stop feeding the fire with the logs, it will start to die down, no? And I'm sure we all have experienced the power of the mind, like you're lying in bed in the evening and suddenly a thought comes into your head of your boyfriend having sex with this girl or whatever, no? Whatever works, whatever gets you going. You're like, or something else has played out, a story that has long passed, and is not there anymore, but it's there because you keep it alive, and we can suffer these states, these mental, emotional states. And so Thich Nhat Hanh says, no problem, just be aware of it. Invite your conscious presence into that, and it will act like the sun penetrating a leaf. And when the expression is starting to go back into store consciousness, if you were able to be with it consciously, it will have lost some of its energy, some of its potential, and now it's down here a bit smaller. The next time it's watered, you can appreciate that it's watered because it gives you a chance to again be with it and transform it, no? And he says that the same works, for example, if joy comes up, and expresses here in mind consciousness, and you can now also be conscious of it, invite mindfulness into it and embrace it, hold it, and like that, he says, this mental formation, this emotion will stay longer on the level of mind consciousness. It's almost like because you appreciate it, because you're with it, you acknowledge it, its nature is to occupy more space in your experience, in your mind consciousness. And then when it goes down, when it ceases its manifestation, it will grow in its potential. Okay? So Thich Nhat Hanh speaks about the miracle of mindfulness, that somehow conscious presence, awareness, has the power to transform these seeds in our consciousness. The next time joy is already stronger and nourished, and it will be expressing even more beautifully. No? It's a bit like in the guided meditation, when you pay attention to the sense of being, to the sense of presence. The more you do that, it feels like a flowering is taking place. But somehow this ability to pay conscious attention to it is really, really a key. Yeah. So what you can also first of all notice is that if this is so important, we can use the times in life where things are easy and flow well to really strengthen this seed. And this seed we can strengthen by a lot of the practices that we do also in the time when the students are here with us, like guided meditation, just sitting, watching the breath, or kind of walking meditation. But also watering all of these wholesome seeds, strengthening them. For example, simply being in nature, in a peaceful, natural environment. It automatically, being around kind people, listening deeply to each other and to ourselves, speaking appreciative words, no? Kind of not only noticing the beautiful things, but speaking them out, sharing them with someone. When you see someone and you think, I really love the way she smiles, you can say that as well. You don't have to just keep it for yourself. Like that, we learn to be good gardeners for each other. So we can take care of these seeds in each other's consciousness. And as an educator, we are in a perfect position to really learn to take good care, first of all, of our seeds and learn how they work. So then we can also take care of the seeds of the people we are with, whether they're children or youth or adults, it doesn't matter. We can learn to provide an environment where these seeds can express, also the difficult ones can express, and that we don't have to be afraid of them or say no, there's no space here for people who have a short kind of short temper, no? But somehow you'll have the tools to work with that, and you will understand the importance and the necessity that it's fine for sadness to express, or for anger, or for fear, for these things to express, because you can also help the people to grow in their own understanding and wisdom and how to be with that. And if you're in a learning community, our presence can help. We can help each other with that a lot. So people don't feel they're alone. And keep watering the good ones. It's not enough to only suffer life. It's not enough. We also need to allow ourselves to notice that all of these seeds are in us already. To notice the blue sky, the sun, the flowers, the well-being of the body. Thich Nhat Hanh sometimes says, I feel very happy because at the moment I don't have any toothache. So this is a condition for happiness, Rather than waiting till you have the toothache and then getting rid of it, you already know, okay, what it feels like, and now I don't have physical pain, so you can consciously touch that and be grateful for that. So, it's also, and that's maybe my last point now, when you understand that these seeds are interconnected, the seeds in our consciousness are interconnected with the whole earth, with the environment. We are not kind of cut off beings, and you can feel that very, very easily, of course, when you're here in the belly, and you feel how it just keeps nourishing you and nourishing your peacefulness. And sometimes there's space for difficulties to express and sadness to come up, because maybe you're not so preoccupied with the usual clutter. And you can notice that we are not just skin-bound beings, that we already are, and that the ideas we very often hold about ourselves are wrong ideas. They, under the light of kind of introspection, they don't hold true, so you can also let go of them. Any idea you have, like I am like this, I am like that, is just a thought passing by. And if it doesn't get your belief, if it doesn't get your attention even, it's as if it didn't happen. And sometimes we develop very bad habits of giving them, the voice in the head, too much attention and too much belief. We don't yet know that that voice is something you're observing. It's not you. Very often we grow up believing that one that's talking here is who I am. But when you then learn, and you can perfectly through sports and physical education teach people to learn, to observe, okay, it's just a thought. I'm here before the thought, I'm here after the thought. I don't need to give it my attention nor my belief, and I'm already happy, I'm already in peace, and I'm fine, I'm well. And so that's kind of the work of social, positive social change through through education, I think. And I guess at Easy Day, at the programs we do with the students, we would really like to inspire them to be innovative and to look into new ways of teaching and new ways of working with sports in an educational way that then has a really powerful impact on people's lives in a very practical, down-to-earth way, no? Because still it seems to me that there's so much violence in the world amongst humans. There's so much destruction towards nature as well, and all of that is somehow an expression of consciousness in a kind of ignorant state, in a confused state. And good education somehow helps to remove that confusion and that ignorance and replaces it with understanding, insight, joy. And yeah, it's a beautiful work, and we want to, in a way, support students to work in that field and to keep growing, to keep understanding, and then to kind of spread that understanding naturally as they would. Cool. Any question about this? It's a good model, no?
Yeah.
So, wholesome. So there are wholesome and unwholesome seeds, and then there's this kind of the seed of mindfulness or conscious presence, awareness. And that's like the garden, the soil in the garden.
Soil,
That's like the flowers, different kinds of flowers. And then there's the watering, all these different seeds and flowers.
Water is like recognize and put your attention there.
Hmm?
You
Sorry?
can water, observing and putting your attention.
Yeah. Exactly. Like, for example, if you're facilitating a class of football and then something is coming up in the game, competitiveness and maybe anger or frustration is coming up in the game of football, and then you as the coach and educator, you can say, okay, just pay attention. You know, how does that feel? Observe. Give a space for it rather than going into the stories and the chaos of it. You know, like develop the tools of the students, of the players to be with that. I remember that reading this book of what's his name? Phil Jackson. The Rings of Success, or the 10 rings, or something about the rings. Like Phil Jackson was probably the most successful NBA coach, or one of the most successful NBA coaches, and the coach of the legendary Chicago Bulls team. And he had a very strong kind of love for wisdom teachings, for Native American teachings, but also for Zen Buddhism. And so he taught his players who were a collection of huge egos off the court. He taught them, as soon as they step onto the court, to be acting and playing and thinking and breathing as one, so to leave their egos outside so they could be in harmony. And I don't know to which level he did that, but of course it's a challenge, if you've never learned how to teach these things, to find good ways of working with those things. But I think these tools, these models, are really great tools that can guide us, and we can try, trial and error. We can give it a go, and we will grow in our ability to really apply these teachings that maybe we found have helped us in our lives to support other people. Any more questions? No, hang on. We close with a bell, because that's one of the practical tools to nourish that seed of mindfulness or conscious presence, is to just pay attention to your breathing while the bell invites you to do so. And be with whatever is here now. Thank you.